Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, and I'm just doing a small little video at around 4 in the morning, just to basically give my opinion on this whole Randy Orton injury thing that's just popped up. Now, I have posted something on my Facebook, which should hopefully justify things if you don't look at my Facebook. I said here that, so Randy Orton is injured, eh? Well, I'm happy that there's more room for development of wrestlers on SmackDown. I'm worried that the WWE will go into panic overdrive and gradually self-implode within those 6 months that he's apparently out injured for. Because some people do say it's a work, obviously. People are saying he failed a wellness policy, and he's finally, after years of WWE covering his ass, he's finally getting some comeuppance. But I don't know if that's true. We're going to say it's an injury for now and wait for reports. But still, seeing as one of the only top faces in the company is injured, this is the perfect time to build some new main eventers properly. On SmackDown, Barrett and Rhodes need to step up. However, I feel if WWE does go into panic overdrive, then this won't happen, and they'll allow, apparently, for Punk to move to the brand, to SmackDown, to give it more star power. All this news, though, guys, should be taken with a pinch of salt. They'll allow us fans to monitor what WWE does closely, because the aftermath could be a turning point for the company and the fans' perception of the product on both the positive and negative sides of the scale. Now, why I said that? Because on the positive side, it could lead to WWE finally doing something properly, which they have not done for many years. Build up some credible extra main event talent to bolster the fragile roster that they've already got at the top. Because like I said before, I always have a problem that WWE's roster is that they don't build anyone at the top. They keep the same guys there. Introduce like 1 or 2 people every year to hopefully keep it fresh, but then drops them out knowing that they aren't successful enough. And then their mid-card, undercard just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but they don't do anything with it, which effectively leads to a stagnation of the product because we don't get anything fresher and new. It's just, I look at that and I think, yeah, it could change now because Orton, one of the 2 big money grabbers for SmackDown, for WWE, and definitely the big one for SmackDown because Undertaker is injured. So it was a bit of a I think to him say it was worrying for me to see that Orton is injured in inverted commas. On the scale that I think WWE, yeah, they are going to go into panic overdrive. They are going to rush everything. They're going to absolutely. See, when I'm in my self-implosion, I think they're going to make the wrong creative decisions because they've never had a talent crisis before. Because when Stone Cold was out for over a year, recovering from his neck surgery, they basically put Triple H in the mold, and look what happened. Ridiculously epic stuff. And they had a backup of main eventers, people who were upper mid-card main event level to hopefully bolster up, including Jericho, the Radicals, those guys especially, and even, of course, the rising Kurt Angle, of course. So they had a small, and also of course McFoley, but they had, and Big Show and Kane, and also Undertaker. They had a small echelons of abundant main eventers. Hell, even in the 90s, they had a small little abundant main eventers of Undertaker, Sid Vicious, Diesel for a while, Bret Hart, and I think a few others, but they don't really come off the top of my head too much. And of course, a few others like Stone Cold came into the mix. So, you think now, looking back, I mean, people are saying that WWE has had worse amount of injuries to talent, but they've never had this much of an issue with it. Because they've obviously stuck with the Hogan format of basically keeping the same guys at the top for years. I mean, I read a Facebook comment somewhere with someone saying that they at least had Randy Savage, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake Roberts, Mr. Perfect, and all these guys ready to fall back on. Hell, even $1 Million Man. And I mean, on the face scale, I think you only had Macho Man and Brutus Beefcake and about 2 or 3 other people, but you at least had a load of people who could easily fall back on if Hogan got injured. And I feel that I agree with that guy that this nowadays there's literally nothing that can cover for Orton, I think, apart from Punk. So if they take Punk to SmackDown, I know exactly why. And it worries me slightly because I look at WWE and say, okay, there's great talent who could make it to the main event, and in my opinion, some of them should already be there, knowing the exposure they've already had. Wade Barrett being one, Dolph Ziggler being the other when they experimented in January last year. It's even The Miz and Alberto Del Rio technically aren't in the main event picture, really, and it's conservatively worrying that you pushed these two guys in the last year and a bit to be in your main event scene, to then kind of drop them out of it considerably. I know Del Rio's is because of an injury and Miz feuding with R-Truth, but at the same time, in a crisis like this, you need as much main event talent as you can. And lo and behold, and obviously some people are saying WWE will panic if one of either Orton or Cena misses WrestleMania, they're going to be in deep shit. People said it was prophecy, but the thing is, I just feel that WWE need to make sure they don't make the wrong decisions here, because I mentioned, I think one of my last videos, I can't remember when, but I was mentioning their problems with talent and various other things that their product need. Yeah, they're pre-created. They shouldn't make the wrong decisions. That was what I was doing. They shouldn't make decisions on the fly, and this is a prime example of what I'm talking about in the past couple of weeks. This is a prime example, ladies and gentlemen, of WWE, how they could react. They could completely reshuffle the brands again. They could combine the brands into one, like many are now expecting, because the talent is so shallow. They could, I don't know, like I said, trade Punk to SmackDown and possibly give SmackDown some leverage. But the only issue I see with that is Raw then is missing something. That means also you'd have to give the title back to Cena, which wouldn't work out. So, I think WWE have got their hands tied, because they've lost Del Rio to injury. They've now apparently lost Orton to injury, based on what we know now. And it also kind of bolds up the fact that WWE really has low amounts of talent right now. This will be a perfect time to bring in some new younger guys, possibly push Mason Ryan a bit more in the mid-card sector to bolster up some mid-card. If you take a Cody Rhodes or a Wade Barrett out of that mid-card into the main event sector, try and push Claudio Castagnoli, known in FCW as Antonio Cesaro. Put even Dean Ambrose and Max Moxley, I think his name is, of the people I've heard from NXT, thanks to Dan Parkin. These guys, hell, even Seth Rollins. Take these guys, who are definitely good wrestlers. I've seen two of them. They are fucking epic. Put those guys in the wrestling, or put them in a middle of the mid-card scene to build themselves, and you've got credible talent. Hell, wrestling with Daniel Bryan. I'll be happy with that. They need to be able to realise now they can't just keep the same people. They need to rotate things. And if they don't, they're going to have a lot of issues. And it's something which we've always looked on, that WWE's shortage of talent has been a bad thing. And I agree. It's a completely shallow thing to think about. They've only got 2 or 3 guys at the top. They've had to keep Triple H in the upper echelons, as well as The Undertaker, even beyond their injury status. It's rare in wrestling. You need evolution. Which, speaking of which, the group was a fantastic way of building talent in the main event echelons without them doing much. And they haven't got that anymore. They haven't got the ability to build mid-card talent, or basically main event talent, out of nowhere. Because what was Randy Orton before Evolution? A fucking jobber. He got annihilated by Brock Lesnar in 2002. And Batista, the Deacon Batista for Reverend Devon, that quickly changed. But you see what I mean? They need to put people in a position where they can actually get noticed. And that's how you get new talent. Superstars on NXT on WWE.com, scratch that. You need to give these guys time to build themselves. I don't care how, but this is an obvious showing they need to. Because if Orton's going to be injured post-WrestleMania, which actually, to be honest, is a good thing, because then you don't get to see Orton burying Punk on the biggest stage of them all like we saw this past year. Fuck it, even the year before that, we don't get to see him burying Rhodes and DiBiase to the point where DiBiase can't even recover. And I honestly think we are in a position now where WWE, I think, is at its most fragile. WWE has never been this frail. As a company, it's doing alright, because they have game sales, they have the toy line, they've got the sponsors. They are actually, to be honest, more widespread in the mainstream than they've been for quite some time. Because in the Ruthless Aggression era, 2002 to round about 2006, they weren't really there. They didn't really get too much public attention in comparison to what they get now. I mean, sure, you could say in a way the Benoit tragedy, I mean, sure, it was the wrong reason to get WWE in the spotlight, but at least they got there. And they kind of realised once they've turned round their public image, they want to stay there. And they've got it. They've got the charity things, the bully campaigns, other stuff to keep them there. But they need the talent on the actual product itself to bolster out properly, to make the product and the company stay afloat. Because you've seen the ratings recently. Raw this past week, which was a very meh Raw, it was very average, only got a 2.9, which last year's end of year show was a 3.08. Not much of a change, but you can see what I mean. WWE has never been this fragile in terms of its product, actual on-screen TV product before. And this goes on to my next point, that I said in my video on the Vengeance low buy rate, that the touring schedule needs to be wound down. And if Orton has been injured at a house show in a street fight with Wade Barrett, this is a fundamental sign that WWE needs to tone down its touring schedule. Honestly, because Skip Sheffield got injured when he really shouldn't have been. We've seen a multitude of people. Sin Cara got injured at Survivor Series. I've seen loads of people. Alberto Del Rio got injured at a house show. Mark Henry got injured in a main event on Raw, but he's still been injured at a house show anyway. I know that loads of wrestlers over the years, I can't name them off the top of my head, because it is 4 in the morning and I'm quite tired. But you know what I mean. You know house shows cause injuries, because you're putting unnecessary stress on workers. Hell, even Christian got injured from this. And if one of your biggest stars gets injured, and you go into panic overdrive where you have no real solution to the issue at hand, and you just make changes like the snap of fingers, and you don't judge their effect, then you're going to run yourself into a load of problems. And the touring schedule is something that obviously needs to be toned down. I mean, sure, you're going to go into the unexplored Russian market next year. I think you could go anywhere now, because your product is so widespread, but you should tone down. I looked at their touring schedule on Raw when it's the WWE Live Tour, sponsored by Kmart. The only day off was the fucking Sunday, and I bet they'd be spending that day travelling. Their body would be resting on a plane or a car or a coach, and some of them would even have to drive themselves. This is fucking madness. Because I saw they went to Madison Square Garden, they'd off to some kind of European-style countries. They were going all over the place in America, from place to place to place. And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, if this isn't a sign that the touring schedule needs to be gotten rid of, then I'm sorry, but they have no idea where their priorities lie. Sure, people want to see the product. I was happy knowing that the WWE was only America based when I was younger. I thought they were only in America for their shows 2 or 3 times a week. They then gave their talent time to rest, and then they came over to foreign countries for a little house show tour to promote themselves, and then have a possible Raw taping or something. But I realised over the years they do house shows, and they do them everywhere. And I feel you can't do house shows all over America, because that's just pointless. Do a Raw SmackDown, then do a pay-per-view there. Easy. Do your tour of places you don't see much. Big countries like France, Australia, Spain, Italy, Russia, China. Do some big countries, not these tiny little countries that don't really matter. I mean, even give some shows to Canada and Mexico. Give some shows possibly to Argentina or Brazil. I'm talking big countries here. They've got to cut down their schedule, because this is a legitimate point that if they don't do it, they're going to have their implosion right there. Because most injuries, when the touring schedule was quite small, I don't think they even had a problem with this. They had only people even say, "Oh, it could be the pay-per-view count, it could be this," but whatever. WWE's wrestlers are overworked, and plus these house shows only contain the same few people from the upper echelons of the main event to the very, very, very stagnant upper mid card to a couple of jobbers. That's literally it, and they're not even getting money for their buck, because if you're there at a Raw live show or a TV taping or a SmackDown TV taping, you know you're in for something. Regardless of how crap it may be, you're still having a good time because it is Raw. You're involved in the product. House shows don't develop anything. We've had a few tag team title changes involving Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch and Paul London and Brian Kendrick, and that's about it really. We even saw a Cruiserweight title change, a house show in Italy involving Nunzio, but this was so long ago now. House shows don't mean squat. And sure, they're a nice revenue bringer, but this is another thing that Mr. Manager just stops trying to smell the almighty dollar and just think about things for a second. Because I know Orton has been kissing your ass, Vince, all the years of wellness policy violations and telling you when people have performed wrong that they should be depushed. Kofi Kingston and Kennedy for two examples. You are now at a point where either you are legitimately injured, in which case I feel slightly sorry for you, at the same time as being elated that we get some change, but I'm feeling that if it is a wellness policy violation, if it is wellness policy related, where you have got a massive suspension because of this, then fair dues. Because to be honest, you've dodged, I think, 2 wellness policy violations because WWE thought you were indispensable. Even when you were a mid-carder in the mid-2000s, you only won one world title, obviously, but you were at least still an upper mid-carder. They didn't even give you any problems. They gave everyone else wellness policy violations when you were just sitting there on your ass thinking, yep, I'm doing good right now, no issues. And now I think if that is the case, that you've finally done something. You've finally had a wellness policy violation for possibly smoking this artificial marijuana, because I know you have had some in the past, I believe, based on your other wellness policy violations, which haven't gone punished by the WWE. I know one went punished, but the other ones that followed haven't. And this should be a wake-up call to you, Orton, that you got to realise you're not as big as you think, because anyone could take a fall. But obviously, in your case, you've never taken the fall. And now I feel if you have taken the fall, thank God you're fucking doing it. At least you managed to take that fall after building Wade Barrett for a bit, building Cody Rhodes for a bit, and building Mark Henry. You've at least done 3 things since September, which I can applaud you on. Now I hope, if this is a legitimate injury, you get back as soon as possible, because the WWE will need you, and it'll be a nice little surprise. The only now problem I have is when you do come back, though, we will see the same old dominating shit that we've seen for the best part of 2008 onwards. And I don't want to see the return of that. So I'm hoping, Randy, if you're injured, or have a wellness policy violation, or it's a random work to stimulate interest, whatever it is, if you come back and you tackle the industry differently, just do that. Just tackle the industry differently. Don't think you're holier than thou and that you are invulnerable to not just the physical ailments, but also the technical relation of criticism. Because I've been throwing criticism your way for the past 2 years, in my own comfort and on YouTube. I respect you as a worker, but sometimes you get on my nerves because your attitude is kind of like, you're kind of like Teddy Hart in a way, where you kind of believe you are the man, regardless of your status, and you should be given things at the snap of a finger, which is why 2 guys were depushed because of your saying. And I feel you need to get out of that spot, because now, if you are injured or suspended, you're going to realise that the WWE is not built around you. It's obviously built around John Cena, and, well, if John Cena got injured, it's actually, to be honest, I'm going to take a little bit of step into the future here, but if John Cena got injured, we would be even worse. So I think you have to worry too much, Randy, because we won't be crying we won't be crying ridiculously that WWE is going to fail now, because I've seen people online on WrestleZone.com's comment section for this topic, and fuck it, they have been elated, and some people are criticizing them for being elated, and I agree. They shouldn't be ridiculously happy, saying, oh, finally, Randy Orton is injured, we don't have to worry. The thing is, we do have to worry. All the stuff I've said in the 20 minutes I've been talking sums up that we do need to be taking this with a walk of trepidation. That we need to basically tread this fine line carefully. Because I can look at WWE that they don't know who they can build for the Rumble. Because at the moment I've already got my predictions done. Got The Miz, Sheamus and Wade Barrett. They are my predictions for the Rumble, people. Not going to lie. I thought those up about a month ago. But the fact is, apparently Orton was a favourite to win. Which is a good thing if he's injured, because now we get the door flung open. Now the Rumble is truly unpredictable. Unless Cena wins it somehow, and then Rock comes back and wins the championship. You know, you can tie up loose ends easily. But this should be something good. But we should also worry that, yeah, WWE could go into panic overdrive and just completely fuck their product over, the likes of which we've never seen. Because knowing how fragile-minded the WWE creative are, anything's possible now. Anything can happen. I could see Daniel Bryan losing the title, Punk losing his title, coming over to SmackDown and then winning that. Just to give the SmackDown brand some prestige. Or maybe even giving the Miz some time. Transferring Miz and R-Truth over. At least that'll give them some kind of big feud to worry about. Because this Daniel Bryan, Big Show, Mark Henry thing is not really doing me much good. I like Daniel Bryan, I like the Big Show. But you need to get Mark Henry out of it if he's injured. This is completely unrelated. But because this is the biggest time of year for WWE now. We have... We've got a couple of days now until the new year. Then we've got about 4 weeks till the Rumble. Then we have the Road to WrestleMania, the most populous time of the year for WWE's product. And I feel they've also got to put the WWE Network out as well. They are in a position now where everything they do, every decision they make, everything that they have any form of nodding and of yes or knowing is so important now that the company will make or break. WCW failed because basically everything imploded from the inside. Don't forget, the creative team just completely bonkers with ideas, did all kinds of random changes to stimulate ratings, and they failed, and people stopped watching or caring. The same thing could happen here if decisions are not made right, and this is a fundamental starting block for the possible implosion of World Wrestling Entertainment. And that is something I don't want to dwell on, but if we look at how WWE has acted in the last year to sudden occurrences, like the ratings slip with Del Rio and various little niggling injuries, say to Christian or something like that, you can fucking well see that the creative are going to probably balls things up, and that we need to worry. And people are probably going to be shouting in the comment section down below that I'm being a bit morbid in my thoughts and analysis of all this. But to be honest, I'm interested in the product and I want to keep it all good. But right now, I've never been more worried, because I was worried for about a year or so that WWE were a bit lazy to keep their product fresh, exciting. I then got even more worried knowing that their talent hadn't been built. And now, those two are combined together with my worry that the creative are just not up for the job. To the point where they're going to be like WCW, where they're going to make the wrong decisions and implode. Spectacularly implode. And I don't want to dwell on it, but it is always now, at the moment, a possibility. When the Raw ratings are slipping below 3 for the first time in quite some time, and the buy rates for pay-per-views are at the historic low, we need to really start biting our fingernails and just kind of worrying and wondering what WWE is going to do to get out of this. We need to monitor what they do closely. We need to make sure that they listen to our criticisms and actually do something right. This is the casual fan as well as the IWC marks. Everyone. This is a point where we have to kind of say to WWE, listen to everyone. Because sooner or later, I could be doing a video somewhere down the line of WWE 1920 or 30 or maybe 40, 50, 60 something. I can never remember when it officially started. It was 1952, I think it started, to 2000 something. I don't want to have to do one of those vids. And unless WWE makes the decisions that are needed, we could be seeing that. Because we've seen a mass exodus of fans. We've seen a mass loss of interest. We've seen a mass loss of talent in alarming rates over the years. And this is all going on a downward spiral. And if we don't do something about it, which is effective, it's like giving an austerity package to a country which is in an economic crisis. You need to do something that you know in the long term will actually be beneficial. You know, in politics, politicians only adjust fiscal and monetary policies for the short term to keep themselves popular. They then don't realise the long term, and that's exactly what's happened to WWE. They have done everything in the short term to the point where they have actually got nothing to work on. And I think if they don't resolve this quickly, we could be in a serious heap of shit. And I know this is me overreacting, but then again, would I ever overreact about these things? No, because I look at things on a broader spectrum, not narrow tunneling everything. And guys, I hope you've understood all I've said in this extremely long video. It's gone way longer than I thought it was. But in all fairness, this kind of subject, I need to go into detail. And plus, I've got my award show on Sunday, so I haven't got a topic. So this, in a way, is a small little New Year's present for all y'all. So guys, if you want to subscribe to me, if you haven't already, click the button up there. View my videos on the button up here. You can click the like button down there. Comment in the comments section. Links to my Facebook and Skype search name in the description box. Also, the poll for my defunct video series revival thing. That's also down there in the description. Guys, I'm willing to hear your opinion on what I've said so in this video, and I hope we can get some discussion going. Because to some people, Orton's injury may not seem like much, but to be honest, if you're thinking in that way, then you are absolutely way outside of the general consensus of, I think, the wrestling public. Because I think some people, much like me, are reacting the same way. And I hope that I'm not prejudging the possible implosion and downfall of World Wrestling Entertainment as we know it, because that would be a sorry sight for me to report on in months to come. Guys, I've been Cream Crazy, you've been people watching, and I'll see you on Sunday for my next vid. Cheers.